coming here and jumping on with me. I'm really excited to really what we're going to discuss. So can you tell us who you are and what do you do?
Yeah, this is a pretty loaded question, right? The first thing I'd say is, like, for you guys that have never met me before, I don't know who I am. My name is Luke Pearce. I live on the Gold Coast, been down here for the last, 10 years. And I run a training company that helps people change the way they think, feel, and act, certify and learn NLP, TimeLine therapy, and hypnotherapy. So I've been doing that for the last, been training that for the last couple of years, been learning about it for the last 10 years, which is really cool because the other day I said, oh my God, I actually realized I've been learning about it for a decade. And I don't know about you, but I've always wanted, I've heard people say, I've been doing this for a decade. So man, for some reason that sounds pretty cool. So yeah, that's who I am and what it is I do. But realistically, it's just such a small part of it. Do you know what I mean? If you wanted another answer, that would be, well, I'm a human being floating through the infinity of space on a giant rock that I have no idea what we're here for, why we came here for, what it is that we're meant to be doing. I'm trying to do the very best that I can every single day, not to, stuff it all up. But along the way, I'm discovering more about myself and the reason why I'm here. So I think that's another version as well. There's many. So if that helps out.
So how did you get into this line of work?
Yeah, so it's, like I said, it's been about 10 or 12 years now. So I'm 31. When I was about 18, I was going through a really shitty time in my life. I was literally broke on all areas, which is very common, right? It's very common. It's like, this is the path. You can't, not many people get on this path by just waking up and thinking, oh no, it was all just really sweet. It was really easy. It's like, no, it wasn't. It was pretty freaking tough back in the day, but I had many, many moments where I found out that what I was doing in that moment was just not what I wanted to be doing. It was what other people thought that I should be doing. And, that led me to the point where I was super frustrated, super lost. I started drinking. I started doing, a lot of really stupid things to distract myself from how empty, how unhappy that I was. And, I just remember waking up one day and looking around and just thinking, shit, can this get any effing worse? I'm 18. I haven't even started yet. And this is how things are going already. And I just remember hearing this little voice saying, it's it doesn't have to be that way. It doesn't have to be that way. And I truly believe, and I still believe till now, it's that was my intuition. My intuition was no. That's just what you're doing. That's not who you are. And that was the first moment. That was the first moment in my life I was literally really conscious about that little voice. And I was like, holy shit, what's going on? Am I going crazy? Have I obviously drank too much? What's been going on? And yeah, I just started listening to that voice. I'm like, well, what do I do? And all it kept on saying was change. You know that where you are right now is not where you want to be. So move, you've got to do something differently. And it took me 2 weeks, I think 2 weeks, just under 2 weeks to pack up every single thing that I ever had, which was not much. And, cut all my ties from the place that I was living at. I was living in Hervey Bay, which is, in Queensland. And I moved down to the Gold Coast, 4.5 hours away. And I've been back there twice since. So I made the decision to totally have a fresh slate. It's dude, what you're doing here ain't working. If you stay here, you're either going to end up killing someone else, someone's going to end up killing you, or you're going to end up in jail, or you're just going to end up living a life that you do not want. And I don't know about you, I don't know about other people listening, but that's very motivating to change. Pain is a very good motivator. Unfortunately, it doesn't have to be that way, but for that point in time in my life, man, it motivated the shit out of me. I was like, no, I don't want to do this. So like I said, I packed up and I left. And when I left, someone gave me the audio book from Tony Robbins, Awaken the Giant Within. And that was the first sort of introduction of, there's tools out there to change the way that you think, feel, and act. There's tools out there to change the way that you live your life. And it blew my mind because, like I said, I was 18. I was like, oh my God, where are these? Why haven't I never heard of this stuff before? Why haven't other people told me about this? And ever since that moment, like I've just, I've been so hungry to learn about different ways of doing things just for myself to start with, just with myself to start with. And that's what led me onto the path of NLP, TimeLine therapy, all sorts of modalities that help people change.
How did you feel about hypnotherapy when you first heard about it?
Oh my goodness. Well, how's this, right? I can still remember the very first time I saw hypnosis was at a stage show when I was like maybe 8 years old, 9 years old. And we all went down to this like little pub, this little hotel, and they had this hypnotist up there, and everyone was full of grog. And I was only a young fella. I don't even know if I was supposed to be there or not, but everyone was full of grog. And then they got people up onto the stage and they were doing all sorts of just dumb stuff. Now, for me, being a 9-year-old kid, I thought that that was magic, because it is magic, right? It is magic. You're getting people up from the stage, you're getting them to do really silly things. And I was like, oh my God, that's magic. But then all the people around me were like, oh, that's bullshit. That's not real. They're just drunk and all these sorts of things. So for a 9-year-old kid, I had many misconceptions, many misunderstandings about it. But then obviously when I was probably like 18, 19, 20, I started using it for myself. I started using it for myself to change the way I think, feel, and act and different things. And once you do something and you experience it, you're absolutely certain about it. So once I did hypnosis and it worked, once I did hypnosis and it changed the way that I felt, I was like, oh my God, this is just the thing. This is a real deal. And then obviously I went on to learn it, and that just made it even more clear, because I understand, every part, why it works, why it doesn't work, and all these sorts of things. But, it's just like anyone else. I thought it was a whole heap of bullshit. I was like, does it really work? It looks cool. It looks really powerful, but does it actually work? And that was, and it still will be forever, that was a very defining moment for my life, getting that 100% certainty of like, no, this freaking works. This is very powerful. And, ever since that day, I've been using it ever since. It's probably one of my main go-to tools. I think it's one of the most profound tools that, that is available for people, and super easy to learn. I could teach someone hypnosis, pretty much the ins and outs of it, within a few hours. Like, it's not rocket science. It's very, very simple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of, I think there's a lot of misconceptions about hypnotherapy. Whereas, you're talking about going on stage and doing silly things. And I think that's what a lot of people that I talk to think that hypnotherapy is.
Yeah, and it's so true, right? Because there's two stages. There's hypnotherapy, like therapy for change, and then there's hypnosis. And hypnosis is more about the stage. It's more about the entertainment. So, the thing that most people don't understand is the people that go on stage and they have a laugh and they have a giggle. Number one, the environment is set up for entertainment. They know that before they even get there. So the unconscious mind is like, boom, we're going here for entertainment. We're not going up there on stage to share our, stuff that we want to clear up. But what most people don't know, and what they don't really understand, is the person that gets up on stage and acts like a fool, they'd probably do exactly the same thing if they had 2 or 3 beers or 2 or 3 wines. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's already within them. And the hypnotist is not going to bring up anyone on stage that is introverted and that is going to not play the game, because that would not be a good show, and they wouldn't get people coming back or doing anything. So this is the biggest thing that I say and teach people that come to my trainings to learn this, right? It's like, hypnosis is something that you are. It's not something that you do. You can't not do hypnosis. And this is a big thing that when I learned that, I was like, holy shit, we're doing this like 24/7. We can't not do it, because hypnosis is just accessing different brainwaves. You can't not access different brainwaves unless you're bloody dead, and then you don't have any brainwaves, right? But it's something that you are. And this is really fundamental. When people understand that, they're like, oh my God, like, I'm doing this 24/7. Like, yeah. Because you're in a, we all understand that we're in a certain brain wave now, but as we go to sleep at nighttime, we go down through these different levels of brain waves to get to delta. Delta is sleep. Delta is you're gone. And then guess what? When you wake up back in the morning, guess what you have to pass through? You have to pass through theta, and theta is the brainwave of hypnosis. And then you get back up to alpha, and then you get back up to beta, which is sort of like our everyday, sort of activity. So hypnosis is not, it's not this, oh my God, this mystical things. Things are mystical when you don't understand how they work.
Yeah.
Once you understand how they work, it's like, oh, that's a process. That's a tool.
So I actually have a question from someone who is interested in how this works. So the question is, for the hypnotherapy, is it possible to completely rewrite someone's personality? If yes or no, to what extent can it be altered?
But the answer is yes, and the extent is hugely depending on the person, depending on what it is that they want to do, and also depending on the hypnotherapist, depending on what tools they have, depending on what they believe. Because, the first thing is like, as a hypnotherapist, you are only going to get as much out of your client as you believe is possible. All right. So it's like, your client is not going to actualize. Your client's not going to do anything that you don't believe to be true. So if you don't think that, hypnosis is going to work for quit smoking, you've got a very small chance of it actually working. If you're a hypnotherapist and you are certain, absolutely certain that it works and that you know what you're doing and then you can get the result, boom, they'll quit just like that. Right. So the answer is yes, hugely. Can it change your personality? 100%. Can it change it hugely? Yes, depending on the person, depending on what they want to change and why they want to change.
So how did you go from wanting to learn about all of this to wanting to teach about it?
Yeah, so I suppose like when I moved to the Gold Coast, I was probably about 19. Now I was a butcher then, right? I was an apprentice butcher, came to the Gold Coast, got my certificate in butchery, blah, 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 blah. It was all really good. But what happened is through that transition, through that path, I actually, because I was an absolute mess myself, right? Drinking, smoking, just, totally unhealthy. I started going to the gym and I started paying a personal trainer, and I really looked after myself. I really got myself sorted out. And within that, I got the bug, or I got the thirst of, man, I really enjoy looking after myself and I really enjoy helping other people look after themselves. All right. So I became a personal trainer. I was like, man, I'm going to become a personal trainer. I'm going to do what, all these other people were doing for me. So I did that and, went and got qualified and all that sort of stuff. And the first 6 weeks of being in a commercial gym with like 40 other personal trainers is I realized that it had very little to do with the human body. I was like, man, this has got nothing to do with the human body, very little to do, and everything to do with up here. So when I was there, people started sending their clients to me just to have a chat. All right, because for whatever reason, naturally, I'd be able to help them change the way that they're looking at things. And obviously that would change what they're doing within their life. And then one of my good mates, he's a PT there as well. He's like, dude, why are you doing PT? I was like, what are you talking about? He's like, why are you doing PT? You talk to more people than you actually train. I was like, oh, I never really thought of it. He's like, have you ever thought about like becoming a coach, like just doing this, but not training, just talking to them? I was like, man, shit, not really. And, then I just started talking to people. And then as I started to talk to people, I understood that more and more people would open up to me with more heavy duty stuff. And when they started really opening up to me with the heavy duty stuff, I discovered that I didn't know what to do with the heavy duty stuff. I was like, man, finding the heavy duty stuff, no problem at all. Boom, there it is. But then I was like, shit, what do I do with it now? And that's where I went into, okay, cool. I've got to go and, really sharpen my skills up to be able to help people get rid of this stuff, so to speak. Because if you're not helping clearing someone's stuff up, but you're helping it bring their stuff up, all you're doing is making that connection or that event stronger within their mind. Do you know what I mean? So that's why I thought, okay, cool. I want to go and learn NLP. Once I got into NLP, I already knew what it was about. But then like hypnosis, and I I figured out that they were all linked together, and I was like, holy shit. I mean, saw that hypnosis stage show when I was little.
Yeah.
And everything sort of just fell into place. And since then, I remember writing down a piece of paper, I still got it somewhere, is like, I will master these skills. Like, I'll absolutely master these skills, not only for myself, but for others. And, every single day since then, I've been fascinated on how and why people do what they do. I think it's, for me, like, that's my game. I just think it's awesome.
Yeah. What were some of the common kind of challenges that people came to you when?
Wow, shit. Well, I think the first challenge was me, right? My goodness, I was my biggest challenge, trying to sort out what you want to do, why you want to do it, what's holding you back from doing all those sorts of things. But I think now probably the biggest thing that I see people for or help people with is finding out what the hell it is that they're meant to be doing here, or finding out what it is that they want to be doing that, and then either showing them the path, as in, hey, go down that path and go as far as you can, or teaching them skills and tools to be like, right, you're going to go on this journey. Either way, you're going to need some skills, you're going to need some tools while you're going there to change some different things around. But yeah, I suppose like when I first started, it's like, people come to you for depression, anxiety, traumatic experience from the past, weight loss, quit smoking, habits, all sorts of different things, right? They want to increase their performance. But as I started doing all those sorts of things, I started realizing very quickly that it was all very surface level.
Mm.
And, all these things that were happening on the surface level were pointing down to sort of what I work with people today. And that's finding out, what are you here to do? Are you doing it? Because if you're not doing it, that's going to eat you up from the inside out. It's literally crippling. There's nothing worse than doing something you don't want to do, or something that that you're not meant to be doing.
Yeah.
Shit, we're only here once, so it's not really a fun game to live your life doing the things that you don't want to do.
Yeah. So a lot of people that I've come across, and I would say including myself, have gone through some kind of trauma, whether it's something huge or something small that someone said something to them and they can't forget it. How does someone who's gone through that change their mindset and able to move forward and not have that thing that constantly holds them back from living the life that they want and following their true purpose?
Yeah, so the first thing is, it's like people's trauma is going to be relative to them, right? It's like you said, someone's totally traumatic event could be them, I don't know, getting asked to come up and speak in front of the school, and they weren't prepared, and then they were humiliated, or whatever it might be. That could be, for someone, the most traumatic experience ever. But then for someone else, they could have got like abused, they could have got raped, they could have got yada, yada, yada. There's a million different things, right? So I think the first thing when people talk about trauma, or when we talk about trauma, is just getting people to understand that it's like, not all trauma is what people think it is. Not all trauma is, significant abuse. Your trauma is your trauma. It doesn't matter what it is, because it's relative to you. So it all matters. All right. Then the very next thing is like, well, you got to understand what's the negative emotions around the trauma. People are going to have anger, sadness, fear, hurt, guilt, shame, humiliation, resentment, bloody, bloody, blah. It goes on and on and on. Well, it's like, okay, those negative emotions are consuming energy within your system, within your body. And that energy that they're consuming is like your life force. It's the things that's recharging your cells. It's the thing that's rebuilding your body. It's the stuff that you want to go out and express to the world, creating a business, singing, doing art, whatever it is you want to do. So that's the first thing. You got to understand, all right, cool, my trauma is my trauma, happy days. Number two, this trauma is taking away my life force and taking away my energy. Then the next thing is, step number three, you've got to, obviously know what the trauma is, but you've got to come to peace with that sucker. Now, this is the so-called challenging things, because sometimes people are like, well, how can you come to peace with someone bashing you? Or how can you come to peace with something really horrific happening back in the day? It's like, well, put it this way. If you don't, it's going to fucking control your life forever. All right. So that's motivation to actually do something about it. Number two, you're going to have to find out, okay, cool. Well, if you're looking at trauma, most people identify more negatives than positives through trauma, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we live, have a look at this thing. We live in a beautiful thing called duality. You can't have a one-sided coin. You don't have a one pole without the other. So within the yin and yang, it's literally the sign of living in harmony with yourself and the world and the universe. So it's come back to balance, come back to peace, come back to equilibrium in the middle. Not, oh my God, this was the most horrific thing that ever happened to me. And not, oh my God, this was the best thing that ever happened to me with no benefits. It's like, no, this thing, it just happened. Wasn't necessarily good, wasn't necessarily bad. And that's balancing your perception, because perception is the game. It's one of, who was the bloody, there was a psychologist or philosopher, I can't think of his name now, but he's like the biggest breakthrough in modern day mankind is understanding that your perception is the most powerful thing that you've got. If you can change that, happy days. All right, perfect example. Two people go on a roller coaster. One person gets off that roller coaster and they're as wide as this friggin' wall. They're traumatized. They don't want to go on again. Mm-hmm. And the next person gets off and they're already in line. They're ready to go again. So what's the difference between those people?
Perception.
Perception. One thinks it's the best thing ever. It's the most exhilarating, joyful thing ever. And the other person thinks it's the most terrifying ever. And the reason why that is that comes from their memory, right? That comes from what they've learned in the past. So with TimeLine therapy, with hypnosis, with NLP, you get the tools to change the way that you look and change your perception on different events. Now, if you change an event from, oh my God, that's the worst day of my life. If you change that to, that's the best day of my life. That's the day where I understood who I truly was. That's the day where I stood up and started, defending myself. That's the day where I really connected with, my source, the universe, God, whatever people want to call it. Well, then that's when you get radical change instantly, because rather than that being the most negative thing that ever happened to you, now you've turned it into, oh my God, I'm going to use that to my benefit. And you can use that as power rather than disempowerment and a drawback. You can use it as a benefit.
So
just, if you can come to, put it this way, right? If and when you come to peace on the inside of yourself, you have won the fair majority of the game. Because people beat themselves up. People relive those negative, those traumatic events over and over and over. But the reason why that is because their unconscious mind is telling them, it's knocking on the door saying, hey, we've got a whole heap of stuff here from the past that we haven't cleaned up. It's all imbalanced. We've got this event here that we thought only negatives came from it. And then we've got this event here that we thought only benefits come from it. And that's not true, because we do not live in a one-sided world. We live in duality. There's always good and there's always bad.
Yeah.
So if you can do that, oh my God, it's very simple when you think about it. And sometimes it's simplicity can get overlooked. Sometimes people are like, oh, it can't be that easy. It's like, well, you'd never know, not with that belief, because you'd never do it. But I'm telling you right now, it's like, if you're listening to this right now, no matter where it is that you are, what it is that you've gone through, if you can understand that the perception is the game, and if you can balance out that perception, you will flip your world upside down the best possible way, then you will find this podcast, this interview very, very helpful. Like hugely helpful.
So by changing, talk about the perception, by changing perception and everything that you said, is it possible to change how you feel about the trauma? after
Yes,
experiencing
hugely.
and kind of reliving it for who knows how long. And
Yes.
yeah, so you can change how you emotionally feel about the trauma that had happened.
Yeah, definitely. So we got to think of like emotion is just it's a doorbell. It's a button. That's why people say, "Oh, did I push your buttons?" It's like, well, yeah, you did. But the only reason why you pushed the buttons is because there was a button there to push to start with. So within these traumatic events, we've gone through them. Let's say we go through them at early ages, whatever it might be. If we imagine like a 5-year-old version of myself compared to a 5-year-old version, between the version of the mindset that I have now, we could understand that they're very different.
Hmm.
You could understand how like a 5-year-old kid might think, oh my God, someone at school said that I was stupid and I was dumb and I couldn't read, compared to if someone said that to me now, I'd be like, I wouldn't even register it.
Hmm.
But the little 5-year-old kid does. A little 5-year-old kid takes it all on board. Do you know what I mean? So the negative emotion is literally there saying, hey, we need to clean this stuff up from the past. Something happened and you perceive that more bad happened or more good happened. Something happened that you didn't want to happen. And now we've got this negative emotion. It's knocking on the door saying, hey, we've got to clean this up. And once you do clean that up, and when I say clean it up, I'm talking come to peace with it, come to, get it equal, get it balanced, then you will look at that event like, oh, it's not, bad and it's not good. If anything, it probably, it created who I am today.
Hmm.
So you can have gratitude, you can have love, you can have acceptance rather than resentment, hate, and, envy or anger, whatever it might be.
Yeah. So a lot of the times we have voices in our head, and
Yep.
could be based on trauma we experienced, or it's just I feel it's a way of keeping us safe.
Yes.
I'd like to go into like what you think the voices are, where they come from, why they're there.
Yeah, definitely. Right. So I think like a really powerful thing to start off with, because I've heard this many, many, many times before, and I know a lot of people think about this. Everyone talks to themselves up in their mind, right? Everyone has voices. Back in the day, you had psychologists that would get people down, into their sessions, and the person would say, "Oh, I've got voices in my head," and the psychologist sitting down, would be like, "Okay, got voices in the head," saying it in the head. So everyone talks to themselves in their head, and it could come up in different tones and different, voices and different levels and all that sort of stuff. So on one part, it is very, very normal. So I think a lot of people think, oh shit, so I'm not crazy. Obviously, then there's the other end of the spectrum where, yeah, if you got voices in your head saying, go and burn the city down or whatever it might be, you need to talk to someone to get that sorted out. But the voices in your head, they're all there for a lesson. They're telling you, hey, we're imbalanced.
Mm.
We've got shit. We've got so much stuff from the past that we haven't dealt with. And therefore, we have all these voices that pop in our head and they say, oh, you're not good enough. You're too stupid. Oh, don't say that. Oh my God, do you remember that time when you were 10 years old and you did this? And it's 40 years down the track.
Mm.
It's all this craziness, and the noise within your mind is it's a gift for you to wake up. It's a gift for you to be like, you know what? I haven't dealt with this stuff from the past. It's an opportunity for you to clean up whatever it is you need to clean up, because those voices have got a purpose or an intention. You don't just have them for the sake of having them. So, perfect example, someone says, oh, I've always got this voice and it's telling me that I'm not good enough and that I'm stupid. Okay, cool. What's the purpose or intention of the voice? It might say punishment. Okay, well, now you know that you've obviously done something in the past that you believe that you need punishment for. So you definitely want to clear that up, because if not, man, that'll floor you. But something else, it might say protection. Okay, cool. Well, what's this voice protecting you from? Well, if I always say to myself that I'm dumb and I'm stupid and, I can't do it, then I won't go out in the world. I won't do what it is that I want to do. And that way I can't fail. And I can't be rejected and I can't be humiliated. And then if you ask the person, well, what's your biggest fears? I can nearly guarantee they'd say, being humiliated, failing, and getting rejection.
Mm.
So these voices have a purpose or intention, but if you didn't know that, you would think that they are just there to make your life hell, and it couldn't be further from the truth.
Mm. So when someone has those voices come up for them, what's something they
What
could
do you
take
do?
away from it? Yeah, what are they like?
This is a really powerful one, right? The first thing that I would say is, let's just say the voice comes up and the voice says whatever it is that it says.
Mhm.
First thing, what's the purpose or intention? You say, hey, thanks, voice. What's the purpose or intention of saying that? What's the purpose or intention of that? Get an answer. Okay, cool. So you're after protection, you're after safety, you're after blah, blah, blah. Then what you want to do is you want to ask a question. Now, this voice, this thing, this inner thought that I'm having, who does it look like, sound like, or feel like? It's going to be someone that you know. It could be mum, dad, brother, sister, teachers, bosses, bloody, whoever it is, friends. But you got to understand that that voice is not necessarily yours. Because if you get that voice, then you say, all right, what's the purpose or intention of this? Oh, safety. Okay, cool. Who does it look like, sound like, or feel like? Oh my God, it's my mom. All of a sudden that takes the charge off it, significantly, because you're like, shit, it's not actually me. It's a part of me that I've taken on board from my mom because she just wants to keep me safe.
Mm.
And you understand that most mothers want to protect their children, right?
Yeah.
You understand that most mothers, when their son or their daughter comes home and says, hey, mom, I'm going to go out and I'm going to be the biggest and best thing in the planet. And the mum links, uncertainty and, not being safe to that. What are they going to say to the person?
Mm.
9 times out of 10, they aren't going to say, hey, let me roll out the red carpet and help you. They'll say, oh, I don't think that's a good idea. I think you should do that. I had this auntie once who tried to do their own business and they went bankrupt, whatever the story is.
Yeah.
And guess what? That story goes straight in your unconscious mind. And then people play that story like it's on freaking repeat. And
Yeah.
that's these voices. It's the little stories on repeat. Once you come to peace with yourself, or a lot of yourself, with your stuff from the past, you begin to get very, very still within your mind. I've had, people time and time again, after they do a session of TimeLine therapy or whatever it might be, they send me a message or they ring me up and they say, hey, I think something's wrong. I'm like, oh shit, what's going on? I feel really empty. I'm like, okay, is it empty or is it still? Like, oh shit, maybe it's still. I feel really still. I feel really centered. I'm like, okay, well that's the baseline. That's default. That's what you want. But the thing is people have been so charged up from these negative emotions over a lifetime. When they don't have them, it feels different. It feels strange.
Mm.
So I can tell you right now, one of the most important things, like within my life, is my own inner peace, like my own sanity within my mind.
Yeah.
I don't always get it, man. My mind's fucking going a million miles an hour all the time. But
Yeah.
when I do have conflict, I understand it and I go to work with the tools and I clear it up. Sometimes it takes a month, sometimes it takes a week, sometimes it takes a day or a couple of minutes. Just depends on, many different things.
Yeah. So one of the what you were discussing before about fear of rejection, one thing that came up was a fear of failure. What
Oh, yeah.
does that mean to you?
Well, to me right now, the fear of failure is like, failure is a weird thing. Like, I don't believe it's a true thing.
Mm.
I just don't believe it's a true thing. I think it's a very misconcepted concept, because the only way that I personally could fail at something is I just said, you know what? I'm not putting any more time or energy into this sucker to learn how to do it. So if you had asked me that 10 years ago, I would have said, oh my God, that means that I'm useless, I'm unworthy, I'm not lovable, all the stories. But now I'm just like, if I fail now, I understand that I've learned how to do something quicker than not failing.
Mm.
I truly believe that, like, I tell my students, I'm like, you just want to, excuse my French, but you just want to fuck up as quick as you can, because you're going to. You're absolutely going to. So when you can move through that really quickly, and when you can move through that, and as soon as you start to so-called fail, or you find out that it doesn't work, then you change and you change your approach. I think that is true mastery and true wisdom.
Mm.
Because you're going through the zigzag. You get to the end of the corridor. It's like, all right, this is not the way. Let's go back here. Oh, this is the way. Cool. And then you go again. True failure is, I just don't believe that I just don't believe it's a thing. But many people do. It's so real in people's lives. That's the weird thing about it. So what was I saying? What was I saying to someone the other day? It might even be yourself, and we had our chat.
Mm-hmm.
If people are scared of failing, that's going to stop them from doing a whole lot of stuff that they want to do in their life.
Yeah.
And people buy into failure because they think that by failing, they're going to experience some amount of pain. Would you agree?
Yeah.
They're like, oh, I don't want to do that, because if I fail, I'm going to feel some pain.
Yeah.
Well, it's like, if they truly understood that if they don't actually go out and do the things that they want to do, one moment somewhere in their life is probably going to be before they transition and go on to wherever they go on to, they're going to have a huge amount of pain. And that's going to come in the form of regret, remorse, resentment, and just that moment of thinking, holy shit, I fucking didn't do it. I didn't do it. I missed the boat. I sat in the free seats of the arena rather than being in the arena. It's like, I truly believe in that moment, people are going to experience the most amount of pain and suffering within their lifetime.
Mm.
And that's something that's driven me for a long time. It's like, I don't want that.
Yeah.
I don't want that. I don't believe that it's, I just don't think it'd be very fun.
No. And it depends what type of pain you want. The pain of getting to what you want, or the pain of regret. And sometimes people just don't understand the difference.
Yeah. Well, this is the thing, right? It's like, we've got to understand that there's always good and bad in everything that we do. So it's like someone saying, oh, well, I'm not going to try because I don't want to fail. That's going to be perceived good because it's keeping them safe. But what they're unconscious to is the bad of the so-called negative of not doing the shit that they want. Now, on the other hand, the person that goes out and they're like, yeah, I don't care about failure. I'm just going to go and do everything that I want. Well, they might be deleting all the so-called negative things, all the bad things, all the challenges. And then they'll go out and do whatever it is that they want. They realize that it's a shit ton harder than what they thought, and that will absolutely floor them because they weren't expecting it.
Yeah.
Now, a true master, someone that's walking the path to mastery, they're going to understand, right, this is what I want to do, and I'm both aware of the negative and the positive, and I'm totally willing to take the both as long as I keep moving towards the thing I want. And that's true wisdom, because something comes in and it doesn't go your way, you could say to yourself, well, I knew that was going to be a possibility, and I still chose this path.
Yeah.
And then on the flip side, you could say, oh my God, you achieved your wildest dreams. Okay, I definitely knew that was a possibility as well. But I wasn't necessarily doing it to get a good or a bad thing. I was doing it because I love to do it. They're worlds apart. They're worlds apart. And some people live in that space and some people don't. And it turns out the people that live in that space suffer a little bit less than the people that don't. That's what I've understood. People that go out and they've got all these big dreams and all this sort of stuff. And sometimes it's a bit, people think you're pissing on their parade, but it's not. It's mastery, it's wisdom. It's like, hey, you understand how much challenge is involved in the thing that you want to do. And if they say no, well, then you understand that as soon as they get something that wipes them out, it's going to drive them through the ground because they weren't expecting it.
See, personally,
someone told me.
Sorry.
What's that? Oh, you go, sorry.
I said, personally, for me, like a while ago, when I perceived the failure of fear, it was an end to something. It was yet the stories came up. I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough.
Yeah.
And now it's more of a learning experience. That's why they say fail faster.
Yeah, well, that's exactly right. It's like you're gonna go through it. Anytime you do something for the first time, you're probably not gonna be that great at it. So suck and be shitty as quick as you can, and naturally you will just become better.
I like that
So
one.
yeah, within failure, like one of the presuppositions, one of the sort of corner posts of NLP is that there's no such thing as failure. There's only feedback.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as failure. There's only feedback. It's like it either worked or it didn't work. Do what works, and you'll probably find that, life might be a little bit more pleasant.
Hmm.
But I truly understand there's going to be some people watching this, and I truly understand that like fear is such a real thing because it is one of the greatest illusions of time itself. It
Yeah.
really is, because then you ask people, it's like, well, if fear wasn't a thing, if you didn't have fear, what would you do? What would you want to do? And all of a sudden people come to life, because they understand, or there's a part of them that understands that there's many, many things that that person wants to do. And they think, oh, the opportunity of actually doing that, it lights them up like a Christmas tree, lights up all their pathways.
Mm.
But then they go and they rattle off the list of all the things they want to do. And then all of a sudden the little voices come back in. They're like, oh, but I can't do that. And it's like, well, you're right. You can't. Not with that level of thinking. You definitely won't.
Mm.
So it's not a good thing or it's not a bad thing. It's just something that people need to be aware of, depending on what it is they want to do. Everyone's going to be different. Some people want to grow a business. Some people want to grow a family. Some people want to do health and fitness. Some people want to do spirituality. I think if we can understand that your path of most resistance is going to be your path to like spirituality or your path to enlightenment.
Mm.
But not many people want to walk down that path of resistance because it sucks. You don't know what you're doing. You don't know where you're going. It always feels like you're sort of getting punched in the face. But the more you walk down that path, the more you understand, oh shit, no, I'm getting it. Okay, here we go. At least I'm on my feet now. At least I'm on my knees rather than just getting kicked on the ground.
Mm.
And, sometimes that takes some years. I mean, man, I've been doing this for bloody 11 years now, trying to sort this thing out in here. And still, every day, I'm like, really? Really? There's always something.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm.
Like, yeah, I've been working on, myself for the last 7-8 years. And
Yep.
I think it's like I went through something a few months ago where something happened and it kind of shifted everything for me and changed my perspective on things. And all of a sudden I'm like working through what I worked through for the last 7 years.
Yeah. Was that thing a decision, do you think? Like, do you think you actually really made the decision to be like, you know what, this is bullshit, or you know what, like something needs to change?
100%.
Yeah. And I did the same thing.
Point where I'm like, I need to make this decision right here, right now. That's like, I felt I had no other choice but to make that decision.
Exactly right. And the cool thing about it is if people don't make that choice, life will force them to make it. It'll just keep getting, harder and harder and harder. And that's when, in the cross section of do I stay here or do I don't, some people choose not to. Do you know what I mean? They're like, no, this is bullshit. I can't do this anymore. But, other people, they make that decision, like yourself, like we're talking about right now, and things change. So, I think that's very, very profound. If you can understand that, you can do all the self-help, you can read all the books, you can bloody talk to every man and their freaking dog about changing. But if you do not make that decision within yourself, it's all just going to be education without action.
Yeah.
That is going to be a recipe for frustration.
I think that's what changed for me personally, is I started taking the action, especially on the days that I didn't want to.
Yeah, hugely. I always say to people, it's like, and I say this to myself all the time, it's like, what resources, information, wisdom, or insights am I not currently using that I have access to? I think it's a great question. It's like, if you think about it now for yourself, or if you're watching this, it's like, what wisdom do you have now within your mind that you are not using, that would dramatically change the way that you think, feel, act, or live? And you probably come up with a bloody page full,
I
you
know
know.
I would.
And the inside, the gold out of that is like, start using it. Like we're talking about, you got to use it.
Mm.
You know, I know so many people, and when I say this, I mean, I used to be one of them. I read every book under the sun. I watched every video about, everything that you can think about. I knew it all off by heart. If someone else came to me, boom, I would say it with my eyes closed. But when it came to me, I wasn't doing it.
Mm.
And the reason why that was, I was trying to protect myself from being seen. But it's like, okay, that's cool. I understand that, but that's also going to cause you a great amount of suffering down the track. So it's like, let's try and equalize this sucker. And rather than have massive reward down here and massive sacrifice here, why don't we just do this? Why don't we level this sucker out so it's not, it's not so up and down?
So do you believe that everyone has everything inside of that they need already?
Yes, I do. I definitely do. Everyone's got everything that they need mechanically, metaphysically, mechanically. I'm talking like thinking, their mind, all this sort of stuff. But how they go about it, that's the thing that if you don't have that, if you don't have like a process of how to do something, it's like a recipe for a cake. This is the most cliche freaking, analogy out there, but you can, okay, cool. I've got all the tools to cook a cake under the sun. Got all the ingredients, all the stuff. Fuck if I know how to do it. You just throw everything in the oven? Like, no, that's not going to work. Oh, why not? Well, first of all, you got to get the bowl out. You got to mix the stuff. You got to pour the different things in, make sure it's level, blah, 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 blah. Then put it in the oven. It's like, all right, well, do we put it on for 3 days? No, don't do that. It's got to go on for 30 minutes. You know what I mean? So this is why I truly believe like a lot of people get frustrated, because unconsciously they know they've got the tools. They know that they've got everything. But depending on what they want to do, maybe someone doesn't want to make a cake. Maybe they're like, I couldn't give two shits about a cake. I want to have a Sunday roast with all my family. Okay, cool. Well, that's going to be a different recipe. You're going to need different things. So that's the way that I would look at it. Yes, I do believe that everyone has everything within them, but that's not the fantasy side of you've got everything within you, you're just not using it. No. The more balanced approach is, yes, you do have everything that you have within inside you. You just don't know how to use it. So that's where education, that's where teaching and learning comes into it, because you can teach people how to make a cake. And then what do? They go and make cakes for the next 60 years. Some people open up a cake shop. Some people eat a cake and then they realize, you know what, this cake actually, I don't want that. I want the Sunday roast. Okay, cool. Well, go and learn how to do that. So yeah, I find a lot of people get caught up in the fantasy of, oh, all you need, Tony Robbins thing is like, all I need is within me now. The answer is yes, that is very true. But there's also, the light and the dark in that. You might not know how to use it. It's like these affirmations. Affirmations are a great thing. They're very powerful. But if you're living on the fantasy, if you're only living in the light side of the yin and yang, that means you're cutting off 50% of everything that you're experiencing. And, back in the day, I did this myself, and I still, talk to a lot of people now about, all I need is within me now. That's one of the most common, what do you call them? Incantations, like Tony Robbins, right? It's really, really well known. And people think that, they believe in that, and then they get frustrated when things don't work. And then they start to beat themselves up, and it starts the spiral, and it goes, more and more vicious than what it was bloody 2 weeks ago. It's like, yes, you got everything within you. You're a freaking genius. You're an absolute master. You are, you're a fucking miracle. But then on the other hand, like, if you don't know that, if you don't understand that, if you don't know how to put that all together and make it work, then you are going to be a pretty frustrated miracle. Yeah. That's what I think about that.
So My question for you is, if you could leave one message for the listeners about everything that you've said today, what would it be?
Understand that good and bad are concepts of the mind, and understand that when you balance and find balance within your perception, you will find inner peace and gratitude and love and all the things that you're looking for. All right, so balance your perceptions. It's not good or bad. It's got to be in the middle. And if you're not doing that, you're going to feel frustration and worry and stress and all those sorts of things. So, I know that's very, very simple, but if people take that on board, you will start to see tremendous shifts within your life. That's what I would say. I think that's the most important thing, because people can do something. That's something that people can do. They can do in their mind all the time. Just a bit of wisdom. It's like, give yourself permission to live the life that you are here to do. Not your mothers, not your brothers, not your sisters, not your partners, not your bloody children. You do whatever it is that you're meant to be doing.
I like that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's super important, right? So many people. I used to be one of them. Like, oh, I'll do what someone else says. It's not what you're here for. Nine times out of 10. Oh, you go.
So, like, I look up to a lot of people who, have exceeded to just get into words properly. People I look up to, like mentors and people who've been through similar things that I've been through. And I don't believe that they got there by not experiencing the pain and not experiencing the thoughts of, I'm not good enough. And I think that sometimes it's an image of what I perceive sometimes, like, yeah, they got there. They're not lucky. I talk to a lot of people who get messages from people saying, you're so lucky to have this business, and you're so lucky to, be the person who you are today. But I know that they experienced everything that we're currently going through as well.
Well, that's, I call it the path to mastery, right? You can't not go on the path. You can't not. If you're going to go to somewhere that is so-called somewhere great, you're going to have to go along the path somewhere along it. So, what we're talking about is so true. The people that have so-called done great things, they haven't just fell there. It doesn't work that way. I heard a really good story about, like, Kobe Bryant. Obviously he passed away last week, and he was one of the greatest basketballers that have ever, played the game. And I was listening to one of his stories, and he was saying that in one of his games, he went to make a shot and he missed it, and they lost the game, right? Now, it's like, all right, big deal. It's an effing game. Get over it. But for them, it's not a game. It's a way of life. Because they're masters, they link it into their life. They're not just there to play a game. This is how they play their life. It's exactly the same. And he said the very next day, what he did at like 3:00 in the morning, he went down the road from where he lives, wherever he lived, and he went to the school that has like a gym there with the basketball court. And he said that it was just him, just by himself. He went in there at 3:00 in the morning, and he stayed there all day, and he shot just this one shot over and over and over and over and over again, until it was like ingrained within every cell of it, on every level. And I just think it's like, how many, I'm not saying that's what people have to do, but the mentality of that. He didn't become one of the best basketball players on the planet just by practicing an hour a week. The man's down there at 3:00 in the morning going all day. So it's the same thing with anyone. It's the same thing with anyone. No one just bloody rocks up and it's like, oh, I read a few books and now I'm a fucking genius. It's like, no, anyone that's mastered their life, they've dedicated themselves to it.
Yeah.
Maybe that's another good thing. Yeah, maybe that's a good thing that people need to ask themselves as well. Like, what have you dedicated your life to? Some people it's safety. Some people it's procrastination. Some people it's a distraction. Oh my goodness, fuck, the amount of people that dedicate themselves to distraction is crazy.
Yeah.
So we're all dedicated to something. You can't not be dedicated to it. And everyone's a master in something. Sometimes people are mastering distraction. Fuck, I know people that are bloody like grandmasters of distraction.
Hmm.
But the thing that they don't understand is because they're grandmasters of distraction, they're also going to be grandmasters of attention once they clear out the thing that's stopping them. Because you can't have a one-sided coin. You don't know what a mountain is. You don't know what the peak of a mountain is unless you have the valley or the trough. If you didn't have the valley and you didn't have the trough, what you'd end up with is just flat ground. So the people that have the highest, oh my God, life is so great, 9 times out of 10, they've had the lowest of lows, because then they've got something to compare it to. People that have had the lowest of lows is every time I talk to someone and they're like, oh my God, Luke, they're crying, they're doing all the things, and they're really, worried about how shitty life has got. Because I understand that principle, I'm like, yeah, but once you clean this up, you're going to experience life on a whole new level like no one else could, because you've been in this space.
Yeah.
Another perfect example for some people listening to this thinking, what the fuck is this dude on about? It's like, how do you know that you've had a good day? Have you ever thought about this? It's like, how do you know that you've had a good day? Why is it that you can come home and say, do you know what? Today was a great day. Because within your mind, you've recorded every single experience that you've ever had, and you are comparing it to days that you've had in the past.
Yeah.
So if you've never had like a really, really bad day, don't expect to have a really, really great day.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, it was all right.
Yeah.
But it's like, man, this one time I had to survive off bloody, I don't know, baked beans with maggots in it on a fucking stranded island for a month. Okay, cool. That's not me. This is just a story, by the way. And then that person went and had like the finest dinner on the planet. Well, compared to maggots with baked beans in it, you could give them a Vegemite sandwich and they'd be over the moon.
Yeah.
Like, it's all contrast, right? That's a law of the universe. You can't get around that one.
So comparing it based on the emotions we felt on memories in the past.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's usually, well, it's like events that have happened in the past. You only know that today's a great day because in the past you had a so-called shitty day. Because if you never had a shitty day, how would you know what a great day was?
It's true.
Yeah. Here's a perfect example. This might be a little bit more clear. My intuition's like, nah, that's not where it's at. So my intuition's throwing this up, right? What would be your favorite food? Just whatever it is. I don't care what it is.
My favorite food?
Yeah.
Spaghetti bolognese.
Okay, so spag bowl, right? Spaghetti bolognese. So let's just say if I said, hey, Ree, you can only eat that for every single meal for the next 30 days. How long do you last?
Probably about 3 days.
Okay, 3 days. So you did good. You got 3 days. So then you ask yourself the question, it's like after 3 days, let's just say you had to go 8 days. What's your perception of the spag bowl?
I would never want to eat it again.
You're like, I never want to see it ever again. Okay, cool. So now let's play this game, right? Let's just say that you still love spag bowl. You didn't have to eat it for 30 days straight. But I said, now you can't have it for 30 days. We can't have it for a year or whatever it might be. And then you sit down, I get you really hungry. We don't feed you for a day. You're starving. And then we put the most beautiful, plate of spaghetti bolognese, and it's got the cheese and the sauce and all the stuff over it. And what do? Look at your face already. You're like, fuck yeah, I got to demolish that.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just imagining it.
So you demolish it, right? So it's amazing.
Yeah.
But now here's the kicker. What makes that day, what makes that bowl of spaghetti the most beautiful thing ever? Is it the spaghetti, or is it the wait? Is it the year that you didn't have it?
Kind of all comes into one. It's the waiting, and then I get to have it.
And it comes into one for this reason, because it's all linked together.
Yeah.
It's all linked together. So if you understand that process, and that is a belief, that's a way of thinking within your life, you can go through the 100 days thinking, what do you think? This spag bowl is going to be the fucking best spag bowl I've ever eaten in my life. And because of this 100 days that I haven't had it, I'm so grateful for these 100 days, because these 100 days are the only reason, the main reason why when I do eat it, it's going to be so delicious. I'm going to appreciate it so much. And that's the path of mastery, rather than, the path of fucking delusion.
Yeah.
Or the path of frustration, I should say, because that's what it's going to equal. Something to think about anyway.
Yeah, no, I like that. Kind of feel like spaghetti bolognese now.
Egg bowl for dinner.
Yeah. So something I wanted to ask you. So if you could tell your 18-year-old self, and when I say 18, I mean the one that just moved 4.5 days away, and that person, you could tell them anything, what would it be?
I think, well, the first thing pops in my head is like, no matter what it is that you do, no matter what it is you've done, like you're always worthy of love. So no matter what it is you've done, no matter what it is that you're going to do, like you're always worthy of love, and like you're good to fucking rock and roll. The next thing after that is like, I would say, hey, understand that every step of the way and everything that you do is going to matter. It's going to play some role in some part, whether you're on the bloody, ground of the bathroom crying your face off because you don't know what to do yourself or do with yourself. It's like that is going to play a part in the whole thing. So you've got to walk the path. You can't not. That's what I would say. I'd really want that 18-year-old to understand. It's like, hey, you need to understand that you can't not walk this path. So if you're going to fucking walk it. But don't walk it with your head down and crying. Walk it with your chin up and fucking have a crack. That's the first thing that popped in my head. If you ask me tomorrow, it'd probably be different.
Yeah, I believe that.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to be adding all your links to this video so that if people feel called to, they can get in touch with you.
Yeah, definitely.
What is something that you are working on right now that people might be interested in what you're doing?
Yeah, definitely. So I think a really cool thing that I've been doing for the last couple of months now is creating what I call the Self-Mastery School. It is just all my wisdom lessons, classes through NLP, TimeLine therapy, and hypnosis, and many other things crammed into an online school where people can take different classes and learn about different things. It might be purpose and mission, finding out how to clear out negative emotions, how to destroy limited decisions. There's a whole heap of things on there. So if you go to studyselfmastery.com/school, it'll take you to there. It is a super, super powerful thing that I've been working on. So definitely do that. It'll change the game. And other than that, obviously like the live trainings, right? So teaching and certifying people in these 3 modalities. And the next training's coming up on the 11th of March on the Gold Coast.
Okay, great.
Yeah, get along to that. If you want to learn these skills, I tell you what, it'll only flip your world upside down the best possible way. So like I'm very, very biased. People say, oh, do you think I should learn them? I'm like, yes. I think everyone should learn them.
Yeah, 100%. All right. Well, thank you for just coming on here and having this discussion with me. It's been really insightful.
Oh, good. Glad that can help out. If you've got guys watching this or listening to this, if you've got any questions, send them through, or even if you want to just send a quick message saying, oh my God, like I got this out of it, or I got that out of it. That would be super cool. I'm always really fascinated on how people learn different things and have different perspectives of different things. Sometimes I'm like, oh shit, I never even thought of that. So, help me out just as much as I help them out. Yeah.
I might even do the same. I got a lot out of just having that discussion with you, and a few things came up for me. So yeah, thank you for that.
Oh, you're very welcome. I think when you've got like true empowerment is when like you personally or I personally can do something with it. So you know, whatever comes up, happy days. That's like the 100 days. It's like, oh, this is the good part, because that's going to allow me to experience, you know, the great. So
Mm.
yeah, it's all good, and you just get through it every day, step by step.
Yeah. Great. All right. Well, thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you guys for having me. I really appreciate it.